Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our special Q&A session. Today we have a remarkable guest with us. His name is E.J Cousins. He's a brilliant 17-year-old author behind the hauntingly macabre collection, The Rioting of Inferno. This spine-tingling tale blurs the line between the bizarre and the conceivable, challenging our perception of reality and morality. So, without further ado, let's dive into the darkest corners of the human psyche with E.J Cousins.
Hello.
Ooh. Okay. Are you ready to go? I got some questions for you today.
Let's
That's
go.
great. Okay, so the first question is, which films and authors inspired you with your writing?
Starting with literature, the most significant for a lot of it was Edgar Allan Poe and his branching out of the Gothic and the macabre into multiple genres, alongside Lovecraft for his creation of these giant creatures that have no real describable form. And then for film and actual visual art, I would lean more into Cronenberg for the weird body horror and the way that he merges the body with other sort of more Lovecraftian-esque forms.
Cool. All right, so speaking of visuals, what do you think about Watts' illustrations? And do you feel like he gave life to your stories and characters, even though the two of you never actually met?
No. I remember when I first saw them, when I was first sent them, I was blown away by them. The artwork in itself is incredible, but given the connection that he's managed to get between his art and the stories, given the fact that we haven't met, is quite incredible. When the darkness of what he was able to portray, I think fits so well into the stories itself. And for me, they were no more out of place than anything I'd written, which, like you mentioned, given the fact that we hadn't met, was quite impressive, especially for me.
Cool. Thank you. Then I was wondering, on a different note, Cybirdy is currently producing an audiobook. How do you feel about it?
No, that's great. It is some of the stories in there. I'm intrigued to see how they will copy over into a more audio-based form, especially given some of the more macabre details. So I'm sure that will in itself be an entirely new, unsettling experience.
I agree.
For whoever decides to pick that up.
Yeah. On that note, do you think your book and audiobook, did it earn its Cybirdy advisory wording then?
Definitely with its unflinching descriptions. I know I've had some say that it is quite, it can be a bit much in places. So having the warning there to begin with, I think, is good to warn off those who will get, or those who won't expect the unflinchingness of some of it, definitely.
Yeah, that's me. They warned me, but I wasn't prepared for that. So, would you recommend this book of yours to your grandmother, for example?
In all honesty, some of it, not all of it, definitely. I know she has managed to get her way through some of them, but I have.
Oh wow!
I have advised her against some of them. So there are bits that will fit more people, and there are bits that will fit more of a minority.
Oh, well, big up for your grandma. Because
quite impressive, yeah.
Supportive, yeah. What are your thoughts on like your book being an ebook as well as physical?
It makes it, especially in a world with more technology, it makes it easier for a lot of people, especially since a lot of people have less time or potentially ability to pick up a physical book. So to be able to have it on the go definitely encompasses it to more people, which is always good. It's always a positive thing to involve as many people and have it as open to as many people as possible, which is what the ebook does.
Yeah. Thank you. On a personal note, how did you juggle with writing and your life and your studies?
That in itself, I think, was going to be the biggest challenge going forward with it, and trying to do it alongside my studies. And in all honesty, I'm not entirely certain how I managed to do it. It was a lot of very good time management that I will be very lucky to try and do again. So I'd managed to keep on top of my studies enough that I would have a couple of evenings a week to be able to dedicate to planning and writing for the book. So a lot of good time management and a lot more work was needed to be able to get it done.
Oh, well done. That's quite impressive as well. So at what point in your life did you decide to be an author? And what was your path to publication?
I always grew up with a fairly large love of books. I was reading quite consistently throughout my whole childhood, so I was very involved and very in touch with the literary world. So it was always there was always a part of me that would love to be able to write. And it was only until I'd gone to the publication event for, I believe it was Hippocrates of London, where I was able to talk to some of the people at Cybirdy and get advice that I was really pushed into trying to see if I could produce something that would be worthy of publication. So I would say my path to publication was more luck than anything else, right? And the support of Cybirdy definitely helped me actually stay on that path.
Oh. Yeah, London is a good spot. It's a good place, for luck to happen to you. Yeah, it's true.
Definitely.
What was the most difficult part in writing your book, and your favorite one as well?
And given the fact that it's sort of a collection of many different things and many styles, the hardest part was coming up with enough unique ideas without them feeling, recycled or stolen from other films or books. So the hardest part was the coming up of it. But the most enjoyable, I think, was once I had the idea, was actually planning out the story and learning myself how this would evolve and exploring sort of that world that I was making as I was gaining these ideas. So the actual birth and nourishment of these ideas was the most enjoyable for me personally.
Nice. Thank you. And what are the key themes they speak out most in your book?
I think, like I've just mentioned, the fact that it is a collection, I was able to try and touch on many different things. I think the most consistent is religion and its sort of role in society. But I also touch on other, I think, important mental health themes, definitely. A lot of depression, and alongside that, people's own sort of understanding of their own life and what they mean and how they're able to find purpose in that. So a lot of more personal themes, I would say, are represented within the writing.
Okay. Do you have any plans over the next 5 years for another book? And are you happy to share some with us? If so,
Yeah. I definitely would like to come back for another. That's definitely not out of the question. But I know before I do that, I'd want to make sure I do a lot more reading to make sure I would have some more actual ideas. But I definitely, the one thing I would focus on would be making it its own one major story rather than having this collection. I would try and commit to a more in-depth story where I can evolve these themes that I've touched on in this book and explore them in more detail and in more depth.
but like a novel?
Yeah. That's definitely the path I would think I'll try and take when I come back for another.
I have to say that this was a good introduction for myself personally, because I don't think I've ever read anything like this, of this genre. Can I just say gore? I don't think I heard. So
Yeah.
it was really nice to get it in small doses and then keep reading it when I was ready for it.
Yeah, I've had that as a compliment before, of the fact that it was in little pieces, so you could pick it up and put it down whenever you wanted to come back to it, which I think helped a lot of people I've talked to get through it.
Yeah. Can I ask you something that is not on the list, but I saw that you like Dario Argento
Yes.
as a director. What's your favorite movie from him? Because I love Dario Argento, so I just thought I'd ask.
I mean, my favourite Argento film was Tenebrae. I think I watched that before I watched Suspiria. So that definitely opened me up to that sort of giallo Italian film genre. I will say I am a stickler for the classics and for the old films. So I think one of my top films is Creature from the Black Lagoon. But a more modern one that I think has been passed over largely was a stop motion film called Mad God by Phil Tippett, which came out a couple of years ago, I think. When I watched that was absolutely mind-blowing in its visuals and what you can take from it. So I've seen multiple interpretations about it. And it's something that I keep on coming back to, is just this fascinating work, which took, I think, about 30 years for it to actually be made because of all of the stop motion animation that they had to do for it. So I think at the moment that is at the top of my list of best films.
Okay, cool. Thanks for answering this question of the list. We have come to the end now. Thank you. I really enjoyed this interview. I hope you did as well.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was good fun.
And there you have it, folks. A glimpse into the mind of a young literary intellect. If you haven't already, go grab a copy of the Rioting of Inferno. It's a mesmerizing blend of beauty and darkness. Thank you again, E.J, for sharing your creativity with us today. And until next time, keep those pages turning. And buy books.